What's up, everyone? G Smith64 here, coming at you with another fictional characters in D&D. Start of Season 2. Let's get right into it, shall we? Wait. Do you guys smell smoke?
Many would call Caustic a sociopath. He wouldn't classify it that way.
I don't concern myself with the ambitions of insects.
That's right, folks. We are doing the one and only Caustic from Apex Legends. It's the perfect way to get an Artificer for Season 2. So let's hop into it, shall we? Alrighty, first thing we have to talk about is the difficulty of the build and difficulty of RP. However, first thing we need to talk about that is the new format for rating the build. Instead of doing very easy to very hard, we'll be ranking it 1 out of 5. It's the same system, but it makes it look a little nicer instead of saying easy, very easy, all of that. So, difficulty of the build, give it a 2 out of 5. Why? Because we're just playing a plain old Artificer with just a couple little tidbits added on top. Nothing too crazy there. As for difficulty of RP, we make that a 3 out of 5. Because playing the character of Caustic is interesting, to say the least. He doesn't like villains and criminals. He thinks they're bad, but he is one himself. So he's a hypocrite. Then you also got to play the mad scientist on top of it. So yeah, all of that combined just makes it slightly difficult. So ranking it a 3 out of 5. Now let's get into the build itself, shall we? Alright, for the first thing that we always do in the build, we are going to talk about class, race, and stats. So obviously, the class, as we already stated, is going to be Artificer. Race will be human. Variant human, of course. Of course it's variant human. You've seen my builds. You know what it is. Then, we will go into stats. You're going to use the point buy system, or you can roll, whichever you prefer. I always just use point buy for the consistency of the videos, but you can roll for your stats by all means. For the stats of point buy, though, we are going to put 12 into strength, 10 into dex, 14 into con, 15 into intelligence, 13 into wisdom, and 8 into charisma. When we choose variant human, by the way, though, that'll give us a +1 to int and wisdom, raising those both by 1 to the modifier. And the feat we will take is elemental adapt for acid damage. Plus, one last thing, the skill we get from variant human, I have decided to make it the deception skill, since Caustic is kind of good about lying about the fact that he faked his death. So, you get deception from that. Next, we're going to go into the background. Background I chose as Sage. Why Sage? Because it's the closest we can get to a mad scientist that gives us the stuff we need. Sage will give us the skills History and Arcana, along with 3 languages, or along with 2 additional languages. Human will give us an additional language, and we'll have Common. For the languages, choose whatever you want. I don't have any picked because, you know, it's a little more fantasy than Apex Legends D&D is. So, choose what you want there. Then, of course, you get the basic starting equipment there. Quill, belt containing 10 gold, small knife, bottle of ink, letter from a dead colleague, posing a question which you have not been able to answer, and a set of common clothes. Dead colleague is pretty simple. You killed them. Yep. Then, of course, class will be Artificer. Our saving throws from Artificer are Con and Int. Very nice things to have. Tools, we'll have Thieves tools, Tinkerer's tools, and Cartographer's tools. At least those are the starting proficiency tools we'll have. The skills we get from Artificer will be Investigation and Perception, and the optional rule for Firearm Proficiency. I highly recommend you ask your DM to let you have that, because Caustic literally uses guns. Every character in Apex Legends uses guns, so Firearm Proficiency is kind of a big deal to have. If your DM will let you have it, take it by all means. Lastly, the starting equipment we will have from our class. We will have 2 simple weapons. Choose what you want there. It's really your choice. A light crossbow. That's what we're going to be using more. And scale mail. Why scale mail over something else? That's just because our stats like scale mail better. Since we only have a +0 in dex, scale mail gives us better armor than studded leather. And Oh no, we have disadvantage in stealth checks. You're Caustic. You're not really going to be making stealth checks. Now, we're going to get into the levels. Into the next part. Alright, so starting at level 1, you will get Magical Tinkering and Spellcasting. Magical Tinkering, cool thing. Will let you make some certain small items like a recording device, a glowing rock, fun stuff like that. Spellcasting, you get your spells. We'll go over that at the end. Then we'll also go over Infusions, which we get next level, level 2. We'll go after those in the end, along with spells. So yeah, level 2, we get Infusions. Level 3, we get the Alchemist. We choose our Specialist, our Artificer Specialist, which is Alchemist. Then we also get the right tool for the job, which right tool for the job means we get double proficiency when we're using our tools. And Alchemist will give us access to Alchemist supplies as another tool. That's why we chose 3 different tools earlier on to gain. Level 4, I guess, use it as an ASI. If you want to add another feat, you could use it to get Magic Initiate, to give a first level spell in Wizard and 2 more cantrips. Just for a little more versatility, that one's really up to you. Otherwise, I would use the ASI on, I guess, your Con? I don't know. The level 4 ASI, I don't really know where to put it. Because on one hand, that feat for 1 more spell will give us really nice versatility that we are currently very much lacking since Artificer spell list really bad. But on the other hand, an ASI is never bad. Level 5 will give us another Artificer feature from Alchemist, which will make it so any elemental damage we do, or any healing we do, gains a little extra damage. Hey, acid damage is it technically elemental? Which is also why we took Elemental Adept for acid. My thought process on this is that caustic traps can't, since it really isn't poison spells in D&D that are good, we're gonna build on acid. It's really not much better. Acid is pretty bad too in 5th edition, same with poison, but acid's a little better than poison, and the acid resistance, ignoring that with Elemental Adept, will help boost up our acid damage to make it so it's not as garbage. Granted, it's still going to be kind of bad, but it will be less bad. Then, last but not least, we'll get level 6 for our Tool Expertise. Because Tool Expertise is pretty good. And also, we're going to level 6 for this build because it is a special case where we need to go to level 6 so we can have a proper build of this character. Next, we're going to go into the spells. So let's get to that. Alright, so spells and infusions. We're going to start with the infusions. You know 6 at level 6, you can have 3 active at a time. The 6 I recommend you know, Enhanced Defense, Repeating Shot, make 2 items of your choice, Gloves of Thievery and Bag of Holding, Homunculus Servant, and Resistant Armor. We're going to go through these one at a time. Enhanced Defense, pretty simple. Not wearing magical armor, boom, add +1 to your AC. Our AC is kind of garbage, make our AC a little better. Repeating Shot, this is critical. Makes it so we do not have to reload our guns. So we're not wasting a turn reloading our guns. We don't need Crossbow Expert or Firearms Expert, even though that's not a thing. But our guns will no longer require Firearm, like if we get a flintlock or a musket, for example. Those have the loading property. Repeating Shot, you put that on any ranged weapon that has the loading property, it no longer has the loading property. Just gets rid of it, which is very nice, which means we were doing literally double the damage with our crossbows and guns. Next up, a Bag of Holding. Bag of Holding's never bad. You don't really need it though, it's not necessary. You can get that somewhere else, especially if you're going to be trying to use other infusions. It's just a nice one to have. Same with Homunculus Servant. Homunculus Servant, really not needed, but it's not a bad one to have. Gloves of Thievery, I chose this one for the fact that it's just a really good item, and it kind of fits with Caustic, kind of. Not really. That one's also just kind of an item. It's good to have, but you don't need it, especially because it's a free, uncommon item that doesn't require attunement, that gives you advantage on sleight of hand checks, which is pretty nice. Last but not least, resistant armor to give us resistance to our acid damage. That requires attunement, same with repeating shot, and same with another one of these. I don't remember which one it is. I think it's enhanced defense. But resistant armor and enhanced defense can stack on top of each other, which is nice. And the reason we choose resistant armor is that way we can give ourselves resistance to acid damage, since we don't have that out the gate. So that way we can just kind of, drop acid at our feet and just watch everyone else burn, and we can tank it a little better. Granted, we also have spells to help with that a little bit, like absorb elements, but you're still going to be taking damage from your acid if you're dropping it at your feet, so we need a little way to deal with that. Alright, on to spells and cantrips now. So starting off, we only get 2 cantrips at level 6. We're going to choose Acid Splash and Poison Spray. Why? That's the Caustic build. Acid and Poison is the Caustic trap. Acid is better than Poison, so if you really want to get rid of one, I would recommend getting rid of Poison Spray, but both are pretty bad in 5th edition. Acid Spray will do more damage, and with our acid resistance building into that, and our acid ignoring other people's resistances, it'll help deal less damage, or deal more damage with acid. That's kind of why we're choosing that. Then level 1 spells, we're going to choose Catapult, Disguise Self, Identify, and Sanctuary. Catapult just gives you a first level spell that's offensive, gives you a little more versatility. You can throw things around, kind of like a gun, quote unquote, fling small objects under 10 pounds at someone. You don't even have to be touching it. So it's kind of like a gun, does a little more damage than a gun. That was the reason for that. Disguise Self, pretty self-explanatory. Alexander Knox, aka Caustic, has hidden himself away from society and is trying to hide himself away in general. So disguising yourself is a pretty good way to do that. Identify is just a good spell to have, and it's a ritual. So Identify gives us access to figuring out what magical items do. And Alexander Knox is a scientist, so he's good at finding things out, I guess. Last but not least, Sanctuary. Sanctuary is also just a good spell to have. That makes sure you don't get hit as often. You also do have Healing Word and Ray of Sickness. Ray of Sickness is a cool one for Caustic. It fits his theme pretty well. And Healing Word is just good healing. It gives you a little more versatility, what you do. But you get those for free. These are the spells we only know. But you get those, words. You get those for free because Caustic is an Alchemist, and Alchemist has certain spells that get for free for being an Alchemist. Now, level 2 spells we're only going to have 2. Once again, we're going to have Alter Self, similar to Disguise Self for the same reason. Dark Vision, we're giving ourselves Dark Vision so that way we can, see in the dark. Then the 2 free spells we get for being an Alchemist is Flaming Sphere and Melf's Acid Arrow. Melf's Acid Arrow is an acid damage, so it's going to stack with our Elemental Adept Acid. Oh no, pretty simple. Next, we're going to get into the backstory of why you're adventuring and all of that. So I'll see you for that. So, the reason you're adventuring and the reason you're on the run. You were once a profound sage. Your dead colleague in your background was a colleague you killed. You and him were making experiments to make the ultimate pesticide, and you realized you needed living subjects. Your subjects then started to turn into humanoids, goblins, such as that. Maybe you have a racism for goblins because of it, because you just use them as your test experiments, maybe think of them as inferior beings. Something along those lines. And your colleague found out about it. So you had to kill him, burn the lab, and fake your own death. So you're on the run, hoping to God no one figures out who you are. But at the same time, you still want to continue your experiments using your poison. However, you are a bad guy, but you're not a bad guy. So your alignment is either lawful neutral or lawful evil. And the reason I choose that is more so leaning more lawful neutral than lawful evil is because Caustic displays a disgust for all the criminals using Apex as a way to hide. Ironic, coming from him, but he still does. He displays his disgust for all the criminals, potentially, in the arena, and displays disgust for all criminals in general, even if he is one himself. And, yeah. However, he doesn't hesitate to do horrid experiments, so that's why I almost want to put him as true neutral instead of lawful neutral. Actually, I do put him as true neutral instead of lawful neutral, but he's kind of in that spectrum of either lawful neutral, true neutral, lawful evil, or neutral evil. Because he's a pretty bad guy, but he at least likes the law somewhat, I guess? I don't understand this man. His motives just get confusing the more I read up about him. But hey, that's Caustic for you. That's the build. I've been your host, GSmith64. I hope you liked this video, and if you do, consider subscribing. That being said, I'll see y'all next time. Peace!